SpaceboundUniverse.com presents 5 magicians killed while performing magic tricks. Number 5. Dr. Vivian Hensley. Nothing puts a black stain on the world of magic like an amateur getting in over his head while trying to perform a dangerous trick. 43-year-old Vivian Hensley was a dentist in Brisbane, Australia. As a dentist, he probably should have known the dangers of sticking non-food items into his mouth, but nevertheless, he died a very painful death from something he swallowed. Dr. Hensley was performing his own trick called swallowing the rusty razor blade for his young son. He did the trick by pretending to slip the razor blade into his mouth while really putting it down his sleeve of his coat. On July 6, 1938, while performing the trick, he slipped up and accidentally dropped the razor down his throat. His wife made him eat cotton balls as she drove him to the hospital. Despite a battery of x-rays and 2 bouts of surgery, the doctors weren't able to locate the razor. He died 4 days later. Next up at number 4, we have Janaka Basnayake. Humans need water, food, and most importantly, air in order to live, which brings us to the sad tale of 24-year-old Janaka Basnayake from Sri Lanka. Janaka was trying to beat the world record for longest time buried alive. When most magicians do this, there's an escape illusion they perform so they don't actually spend the time buried. The exception is David Blaine, who spent 6 days being buried alive, but he was a professional with a team of experts. Basnayake wasn't a professional. Instead, on March 5, 2012, he got his family to bury him alive in a pit 3 meters deep, and then cover it with soil and wood. He was buried for 7.5 hours before being dug up. They found him not breathing and took him to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The sad thing is, the Guinness Book of World Records doesn't even recognize this record because it's too dangerous and they don't want people even attempting it. And for number 3, we have Royden Joseph Gilbert Raison della Genesta. Genesta, for short, was an American magician whose signature trick was the milk can or water barrel escape trick. This trick has the escapist locked in a large milk can or water barrel filled with water. The trick is to get out before he or she drowns. Unfortunately, in 1930, during the Journey to Fateful performance, Genesta's milk can was dented, which limited his space and prevented him from making the movements he needed to escape. He was unable to free himself and he drowned. His death had a ripple effect on contemporaries like Houdini because it made the water barrel trick seem even more dangerous than it actually was, making it a more popular attraction. Number 2, we have Joseph W. Burrus. The lifelong dream of 32-year-old Joseph Amazing Joe Burrus was to be more famous than his hero, Harry Houdini. On Halloween night in 1992, the anniversary of Houdini's death, he attempted to try the escape Houdini failed at, being buried alive. Amazing Joe had himself handcuffed, locked in a homemade coffin, then placed in a grave 2 meters deep, and buried alive under 7 tons of dirt and cement. That's about the weight of a male African elephant. Amazingly, no one was able to convince him that it was impossible, and that he needed some sort of illusion to come out of the trick alive. During his preparation, a reporter covering the story pointed out to him that the cement dries quicker on the bottom than the top, so even if he didn't get crushed to death, he'd still have to get through several feet of dirt before trying to break through a layer of cement that was fast hardening, all without running out of air. However, the cement was not even an issue for Burrus. The dirt and cement collapsed on him and he was crushed before leaving the coffin. Lastly, at number 1, we have William Elsworth Robinson. William, otherwise known as Ching-Ling Su, was an American magician who adopted the personality of a Chinese magician and never broke character. He never spoke English on stage, and when speaking to journalists, he always used an interpreter. At the time of his death, he was one of the most famous magicians in the world. The fateful accident happened at Wood Green Empire in London on March 23, 1918. Ching-Ling Su was performing his version of the bullet catch. Sadly, he did not have the gun cleaned out properly after the last time he had performed the trick. This caused a buildup of gunpowder in the ramrod tube, which gave it enough force to launch the bullet into Ching-Ling Su's chest. Breaking his character for the first time, he said, "Oh my god, bring down the curtain, something has happened." He died the next day in the hospital. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and also subscribe as we upload every other day.